Hey friends, I just have returned from Yarncon, which is a annual yarn festival here in Chicago. And this was my first time attending, and as I was there I was like, I can make a vlog of this, which I haven't done in so long. So this is my experience at YarnCon. This was my very first yarn festival. I've not gone to any. I have a plethora of local yarn stores in Chicago. I think there's at least 6 in city proper. So I'm not needing to like necessarily go to yarn festivals to see a bunch of like indie dyers and things. But I saw this was happening. It's free. It happens around this time every year in like mid-April. And apparently it's been happening since approximately 2007. So it's a like bigger but still small yarn event. I will show you some footage of the event. This is taking place in Plumbers Hall in Chicago, which is just like the Plumbers Union meeting hall. I've been to a few like small niche events at this venue before, so I was familiar with it. And I went on Sunday, so it was not quite as busy, but still pretty busy, but I think it was fairly well spread out to where you could still see things. And here is a plethora of all the lovely yarns that I saw. So, opinions about YarnCon. For a free event, I don't really have any complaints about a free event. Like, they can do whatever they want with a free event. That's totally fine. I don't know how it is as a vendor. Can't speak to that. As someone who attended, I was kind of surprised by how much, like, variegated and crazy colored yarn there was, and not a lot of just like basics. Not that I didn't think there would be any of those. Like I knew that would be a thing, but I was like, oh, I would really love to get like a cotton blend yarn from a like local, you know, artist or whatever, or not even local, right? Just some kind of indie dyer or whatever for a tank top I want to make, because it's starting to be spring and summer. Not a cotton blend in sight. I think there was like a few that were cotton wool blends that we saw, but there was like, it was basically entirely wool. So I know that like that's a little bit more common for indie dyers, that they tend to do like just your merino superwash kind of thing. There were a ton of sock yarns, which also makes sense because it's like, okay, people can go, and if they're going to buy a more expensive skein of yarn, because a lot of these yarns were like 20 and up, depending on the size of them. And so more expensive than just like your standard, you know, like more mass produced yarn. And so, you know, being like, okay, get a sock yarn because then you can get a single skein. That makes sense. But I thought there would be more of a mix. There was also a number of like worsted weight yarns and some like DKs and stuff here and there. But I was expecting like a little bit more variety, and also a little bit more like still some solids. There was a few stalls that you might have seen that had some more solids, but they were definitely more so showing off their like crazy yarns. I was also a little sad that some of the booths that I had looked up before I went, just to be like, hey, what kinds of yarns can I expect? There was one in particular, and I had footage in there from them, Ex Libris. They had book themed yarns, and online they're like tonals and more solids. They had a lot of those, and they didn't bring like any of them. They brought all their variegated yarn, and I'm just like, I think for vendors, maybe it would be like, hey, bring a little bit of both, because everyone is bringing their variegated yarn. Like that is so much of what's there. And so maybe stand out a little bit by having some of your tonals and solids that are like normal colors. Like there was plenty of like neons and things. So yeah, maybe that's just the experience of yarn festivals. I don't know. I haven't been to enough of them to be able to say. But I was like, oh, bummer. So I didn't end up spending a lot of money, which is great. What I ended up getting were two things. One is this little needle gauge that I got from the Wild Stitchers, and it's just a little toadstool needle gauge. I have a needle gauge on this little like ruler that I have from, I think, like Chowgu, but it's kind of ugly, and this is cute. And it can just go in my bag, and it's very cute. And then probably my favorite booth there, which was one of the larger booths also, was Fiber Seed. And this is an American yarn brand. This is their Sprout sock yarn, which is 510 yards, 136 grams. Huge sock yarn. And this is in the color Time, and I'm going to use it for the Time socks, but I believe it's this Handmade Life, I want to say. I've saved a bunch of that person's sock patterns, and they're all gorgeous. It was like Time yarn for the Time socks. Perfect. And they had these like really beautiful tonals. It might be showing up a little bit darker on camera. I can't really tell. But just like, this is gorgeous. So, but again, they mostly had sock yarn. Everyone had sock yarn. So right after that, my friend that I went with, Lauren, and I went and got food at Potbelly. And then we were like 8 minutes away from another local yarn store that we ended up looking at, Yarnify, which is where I ended up getting some yarn for the first sweater that I made. They have a pretty large selection. We were looking for some like cottons and linens and stuff, and no one carries like fingering weight all cotton or like linen yarn. So anyway, I haven't been able to get anything for that project, but technically I'm fine because I'm still finishing my current sock project, and then I have that yarn for my next sock project. And I did start the collar of a sweater, but I think I'm going to put that on hold until it gets cooler out again. I started that a couple of weeks ago, but then put it aside to finish the sock I was working on, and now it's getting warm. So I do want to switch to that tank top. I want to make the twisted loop tank from Other Loops, I want to say that it is. So yeah, I was looking for yarn for that. I mean, she uses like a cashmere or a cashmere cotton or wool cotton blend were the two like yarns that she recommended. I just want like a linen or a cotton or something. So I will be on the lookout for that. But yeah, so opinions, like I said, about Yarncon were like, love that it's free. Love that there was a lot of like kind of local to the Midwest vendors. There were some from farther out, but there was a lot of like Illinois, Wisconsin, Michigan, some of those. And yeah, I got to see some like pretty cool booths, but I wish that it would have been a little bit less variegated, because I was like, I am not buying a bunch of variegated yarns. That is just simply not happening. So I will go again next year, just try it out. And now I kind of know what to expect. And it was nice to not have to spend like all day there. And maybe in the future, I'll go to an even larger yarn festival. So yeah, but those are my thoughts on YarnCon. Comment down below. Let me know if you've been to that event or if you've been to any other yarn festivals. And if that's just like the lay of the land for a yarn festival. So yeah, thank you all for watching. I'll see you guys soon. Bye.